Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be doing another monthly ranking where I rank all the horror movies I watched in the month of June 2025 from the worst to the best. We're officially past the halfway point of the year now and there's some big hitters coming out in the rest of the year, kind of like 2024 did. So I've got my eye on a really good few horror movies there, but this month wasn't too bad. We've got a little mix of good and bad really, but I'll get on to that when I talk about them in just a moment. Now, if you want to see any of my 2025 horror movie reviews, I'll leave them in the link down below alongside my other monthly rankings. So let's just get into it now. In sixth place is going to be The Ritual. Now, I didn't hold any hope for this movie whatsoever, and I didn't actually go to cinema to see this one, but it did come on VOD digital at the end of the month, so I did check it out in time for this ranking. And even though it had my favourite actor of all time, Al Pacino, in, and a really great actor who's doing great things at the minute, and Dan Stevens, I still just didn't hold too much hope. I just think exorcism movies have been terrible lately with the Pope's exorcism and stuff. And I just think they do the same thing over and over. So yeah, I just had no real desire to go out and to go to the cinema to see this. But I gave it a chance. And you know what? This movie started off okay. Kind of looked like it was building the character of Dan Stevens' priest up there. And after about 20 minutes, lo and behold, it became another exorcism movie. Another typical bad movie from that subgenre. This has got to be my least favourite subgenre because I don't think we've had any great ones apart from The Exorcist, sorry. The last Exorcism was okay. The Exorcism of Emily Rose wasn't bad, but everything that I see in this subgenre just doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I can basically review this movie right now in a few words, and I'll probably repeat the same words. So here goes. Swear, swear, vomit, vomit, swear, swear, vomit, crawl up the wall, swear, vomit, swear, vomit, swear. That's it. That's basically what happens when we get into the whole exorcism thing here. Now, there was one redeeming factor of this movie, and it was Dan Stevens. I think he's a very competent actor. In fact, he's more than competent. He's a great actor. And he really does, try and really do what he can with this role. I mean, he really does get into it. You can tell that he's really thought there might be something with this movie. And Al Pacino is the same, although I do think Al Pacino kind of falls flat here. Doesn't really do it for me. I don't really like the accent he's putting on or anything like that, which is strange because I think Al Pacino always stands above everyone in movies, even like The Irishman when he's got De Niro and Pesci next to him. I just think he was the standout of that film. And The Godfather 2 as well. I mean, I know De Niro was really highly praised, but Al Pacino, for me, again, is better than that. He always is the standout. But here, Dan Stevens actually was the standout over him. But that's the only thing I can say I really liked about this film was Dan Stevens' performance. There's nothing here. This is just another bad exorcism movie that just brings nothing new to this subgenre whatsoever. And it just becomes very irritating and frustrating seeing this young girl just scream her head off, basically, and give insults to these priests. So yeah, The Ritual, it wasn't good. And I really like how, by the way, this movie goes from Ritual 1, Ritual 2, Ritual 3, and it's just the same thing over and over. Like, nothing is really different in these rituals. So yeah, unfortunately, this was a really bad movie. I kind of hated it. So that is The Ritual. Next up, Megan 2.0. Now, I did say there was 6 horror movies in this list, but this really isn't a horror movie whatsoever. But it is coming off the back of a horror-type movie about a killer doll in Megan. So I thought I'd include it here. But this one, and you knew going by the trailers, it has definitely done a genre shift into a more action, sci-fi, espionage type movie, and it's kind of doing the Terminator 2 thing. A lot of people are going to compare it to that movie, but that's exactly what it is. It takes the villain from the first film and makes her the hero here to go up against a much more sinister villain, if you like, and she's got to protect this Katie girl. So yeah, I can see the comparisons, and you can tell that they are basically doing that without any care in the world. They are basically copying the blueprint there, and they know it. It's very self-aware. Now, I wanted to go in this movie and I thought I'd have a little bit of fun with it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Megan, but I thought it was okay. I liked it to a certain degree, but I would much rather watch that first movie than this one. I mean, this one was just absolute cringe factor in the cinema. They are definitely aiming to a much more younger audience, possibly more towards the teenage girls type deal there. I can usually just watch any type of film, but this one just didn't feel like it was for me, unfortunately. It is aimed towards a TikTok generation as well, I think. And there's all like these little quotes here and there from Megan, and I was just like, oh no, this just isn't working for me whatsoever. Now, I do think the villain of this movie was kind of cool, although she is not really a doll. They've just used a human to play this android, so it's kind of like a Terminator within itself, and Megan actually looks like a doll still. That kind of threw me off. It felt lazy. I think they could have done the two doll thing. I think that would have been a lot better. Two killer dolls going up against each other, but it's basically Megan versus this human looking thing. There was she was sinister enough, and she was a good villain. I thought that was something good about the movie. There was a few laughs here and there, but it tries to be way too comedic, and there was a lot of times where I didn't laugh, basically. I don't think the action is anything to write home about either. There is no defying moments or set pieces where I was like, holy shit, that looked great. And once I seen Megan in a wingsuit jumping off a cliff, I just thought, yeah, I'm out here. And it's also 2 hours long, which is weird because, if you're aiming to the TikTok generation, do you really want it to be 2 hours long? I don't know, maybe that's just my thoughts. But yeah, for me, it just didn't work for me at all, unfortunately, guys. Yeah, the first movie is by far superior. So that is Megan 2.0. Next up, we have Marshmallow. I didn't really know anything about this movie until a few weeks ago, and I've seen a few people on my letterbox logging this and saying that, it was a decent movie, 3 stars, 3.5. I looked into it, and it's like a summer camp slasher type movie, what it's going for there. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a go. I love camp slashers. And this one was everything that you expect from a camp slasher movie, minus the kills. For the first half, it's building up the characters, you're getting to know the surroundings, there's the typical bullies knocking our main protagonist around and stuff. And I was getting into it, I was really latching on to this main protagonist, this young boy. I kind of felt sorry for him because he wasn't the most confident kid or anything like that. And I thought the counselors were really fun to be around. You got the arsehole, the woman who's looking after them, the kid the main protagonist who's got one that he'll look up to and everything. So there was a good mixture of camp counselors there as well. And then the movie does something with the second half of the film that I didn't see coming whatsoever. And a lot of people have praised this movie for doing that. And I like the appeal. I like the concept. But I don't think it was executed all that well. And what I thought I was going into the movie for, I kind of didn't get. Now, that might be my personal annoyance. That might be my fault, if you like. But I just didn't kind of like where they went with it. It was interesting. It's like nothing I've seen before. It didn't quite work for me, unfortunately. So yeah, it was just a mad little twist, a mad little ending there in the second half of the movie. And some people will appreciate that a lot more than I did, but it kind of didn't work for me. However, it was okay. I didn't mind it. Just kind of wish there was a little bit of a better outcome, or even the outcome they did, they executed it a lot better. That is Marshmallow. Getting in third place now, I did change third and second around when I was looking at my ranking before doing this video. I did have this above second at one point, but in third place, we do have Clown in a Cornfield. Now, this is a movie that we got very late. I think the US got it May, and we were meant to get it like the 10th of May or something. And then about a few days before it was due to be released, it got pushed back to June the 6th. So yeah, the US got it way before us, which is just another conversation entirely. I could go on forever about that. Nothing against the Americans or anything. Nothing against anyone else in the world. It's just, I hate the film companies for doing this. But like, again, that's another story. This one was a typical little slasher film. And you got this clown called Friendo going around, killing people and stuff. There's a whole rich history to do with the clown. involving the cornfield and everything, and this factory that, you know, had this clown as their sponsor and everything, and we're learning about that and everything. I thought that was really interesting. I liked the main protagonist who's just moved to this new town with her dad. Yeah, that does feel a little bit cliche for a horror movie, but you know, a lot of the stories in slasher films do this. But I really liked her character, and then she got to meet these other characters in the school, and I thought they were really cool characters as well. And then the second half of the film, after it being a slasher film, kind of turns it on its, I wouldn't say turns it on its head, but does something a lot more different than slasher movies do. Kind of like Marshmallow was doing there, although Marshmallow didn't have the kills in the first half, where this movie does. But what they did, I really liked, and you know, it elevated the movie for me. Now, don't get me wrong, the kills in this film aren't anything to write home about. There's some cool ones. I really like the weightlifting kill with the blade going across the weightlifts and stuff. But I mean, I've seen way more better creative slashers. However, I really like the look of Frendo the Clown. Thought he was an awesome killer there. The reveal for me was a little bit of a letdown, but I didn't hate it or anything. But yeah, I really like what they did in the middle of the film. You know, it felt different and stuff. There's some real fun comedy in here as well. It is a horror comedy, but it got me a few laughs here and there. Oh yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's not Art the Clown levels of liking this killer clown, and the gore is nowhere near it. But it's still a really fun time. A lot of people will hate this movie. I think they'll feel like it's just such a silly slasher. I've seen a lot of people online when it came to VOD saying this was a waste of time and everything. But I'm a slasher fan and I liked it. And yeah, it's just a decent little slasher that takes place in one of them quiet towns. It's an enjoyable movie. So that is Clown in a Cornfield. Coming in second place, which I originally did have behind Clown in the Cornfield, is Dangerous Animals. Now, this is a shark movie with a little bit of a different flavour, if you like. Kind of like Jaws, or let's say another shark movie, Deep Blue Sea, if you like, mixed with Wolf Creek. And what I mean by that is you've got this character called Jai Courtney, who really reminded me of the killer from Wolf Creek. And he is basically kidnapping women, taking them out to sea on his boat, and lowering them into the sea for sharks to basically rip them apart. So he can film it on his camera and collect it on a video and put it in his little videotape storage shelf there. Yeah, he's a twisted psycho, but a really cool killer in this one. He's having so much fun with the role, Jai Courtney here, and he's just demented, sinister, but you kind of like that. That's what you kind of want in a villain. And he kidnaps this one woman, our main protagonist, who I really liked and really grew to attach myself to as the movie goes on. And you're kind of really rooting for her to help herself and get off this boat and kill this guy, because as the movie goes on, she seems to grow a little bit stronger. And even Jai Courtney's character is kind of, you know, admiring her strength and everything. So it basically becomes a little battle between them two. But I thought the shark action was really cool. It's really tense sometimes as Jai Courtney is lowering these girls into the sea and stuff. There's a little romantic storyline going on in the background, which I did care for. You know, I like this whole romantic side of things with this other character and our main protagonist. So yeah, it's just a really cool movie. It feels isolated, even though it's, you know, because it's fully out at sea and there's no one really to help these characters there. They can scream all they want, but no one can really hear them. So yeah, it's a shark movie with a little bit of a twist there. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it had such an awesome third act as well. So a very easy watch, guys, but one that is very, very enjoyable. So that is Dangerous Animals. Coming in first place, though, is going to be 28 Years Later. Now, I know this movie has had a very mixed reception. You either kind of love it or you kind of hate it. But I absolutely loved this movie. I actually thought it was the best one out of three, to be honest. I revisited the other two just going into this. And I had a great time with it. By the way, guys, I've reviewed all three of these movies. If you want to check them out, I'll leave that in the link down below as well. My little 28 Days Later playlist there. But this one, you know, takes place 28 years later, of course, and it sees this young boy and his dad going out to this mainland where, you know, they're kind of secluded in their little safe village there, but there's this mainland that they can walk into when the tide comes down, and that's where all the infected are living. And the UK has basically been boarded off there, quarantined, no one can get in, no one can leave. And we basically have this coming of age story with this young boy who's basically got to find the strength within himself to survive in this world. And he learns that there's this doctor out there, and he really wants to find this doctor because his mother, played by Jodie Comer, her name was escaping me there, is very, very sick. And he decides to go out there, venture on his own to find this doctor in this very dangerous world. Now, what I loved about this movie is the world that Danny Boyle has sort of created here. You can tell there's a lot been going on here. There's like these little clans here and there. There's all different types of infected now because they have evolved and everything. And you can just tell that there's so many little corners of this mainland to explore. And I really hope to see more of it. And he expands upon it in the next two movies. But I thought there was some really good infected action here, some really tense moments. There's one moment where this infected is just chasing Aaron Taylor-Johnson and his son right across the, to the village there. And I was like, holy shit, on edge of my seat stuff. And me and my wife and my sister and my brother-in-law all went to watch this movie. And after it, we had a little bit of a discussion, and each one of us brought something up that made us realise, wow, that was connected to that little bit. That meant that bit. Danny Boyle throws so many little things in here that make you sort of think and beg for a rewatch. Like, I can't wait to rewatch this movie. I think I want to pick up on so many more things there. And I really love the edit and what he does here. Now, I'm not usually a fan of Danny Boyle's editing in his movies. I think it's very eyesore-ish to look at sometimes, but here I thought he did a great job. I really liked the parts where like arrows were hitting the infected and you just pause for a second to see the impact and stuff like that. Now, the characters in this movie are great as well. Aaron Taylor-Johnson brings his A game. Jodie Comer, never seen her in anything bad. She's always put a good performance in. Ralph Fiennes bringing a great personality. And Alfie Johnson, I believe his name is, the young kid in this movie, stood head and shoulders above everyone. He's only ever been in one film before this, which is just unbelievable. So for him to put a performance in like this was genius. I thought he'd done such a great job, so well done to that guy, and you really latch onto his character as well. Last thing I'm going to say is the ending. A lot of people have been very divisive about this ending. I thought it was kind of funny, and it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. I didn't hate this ending whatsoever. So yeah, 28 years later, guys, it's my #1 horror movie of the year so far, not just this month. Will it remain there? Who knows? But for now, 28 years later is my #1 movie of the year, and my #1 definitely for June of 2025. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. What were your picks of the month? Please do let me know down below. And have I got this order wrong, or do you disagree with this order, should I say? Please let me know what you thought of my thoughts on these movies and give me your thoughts as well. If you want to give this video a like and subscribe to this channel, guys, if horror is your sort of thing, please do. It really helped me out. Thanks so much, guys. You take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.